Imagine a software project. An internal project estimated to take 5 full years and cost something like $6 million.
That is massive resource sink.
Right. Now imagine finishing that exact same project in 2 weeks for the price of a used sedan. Just $12,000.
It's almost hard to wrap your head around.
It really is. Welcome to episode 605 of AI Brief. I'm Amin, and here with me is Leah. Today, we are unpacking a fundamental shift in how artificial intelligence operates within your daily workflow.
We've got a lot of ground to cover today.
We do. We are going to explore how Slack is basically transforming software engineering into a live spectator sport. We'll also examine a new medical AI platform that's uncovering these invisible patterns in breast cancer cells. Plus, we'll break down a rapid-fire slate of corporate AI news and equip you with today's trending productivity tools.
And the through line across all of these updates, it's really a transition in the fundamental nature of these systems. We are moving past the era of treating artificial intelligence as a separate, isolated tool that you just query in a standalone browser tab.
Like a search engine.
Exactly. Instead, we are seeing it integrated as an active, collaborative team member, whether that is happening inside an enterprise messaging channel or under a microscope in a research lab.
So to see exactly how that collaboration is evolving, we really need to look at where most teams already spend their entire workday. So let's talk about Slack.
I mean, we live in Slack.
We absolutely do. And Slack has just launched this new feature called Slack Code, and it completely upends the traditional software development process. Because, historically, an engineer writes code in an isolated environment, right?
Yeah.
They push it to a repository, and then they report back to the team.
Which is a very siloed way of working.
Totally siloed. But Slack Code changes that by allowing users to develop software directly inside shared messaging rooms.
Oh, wow. So right in the channel.
Right in the channel. But here is the wild part. Instead of a human writing the baseline code, you have AI agents doing it. You can have ChatGPT, Claude, Devin, Vercel, and GitHub doing the actual programming right there in the chat interface.
So the human teams are just watching it happen?
They watch the code generate, they steer the process, and they direct the build in real time. So this means a non-technical project manager or even a marketing lead can jump into the channel, see a live preview of the software taking shape, and actually contribute to its direction.
I can see how that would speed things up tremendously.
Or for sure. And when it's time to push those changes live, the deployment is strictly gated behind human approval. So you can't just accidentally break the app. And afterward, the channel simply archives itself, leaving behind a fully searchable record of exactly how that software was built. And this is rolling out across all Slack plans too.
That level of transparency is huge for institutional memory.
It is. I look at this setup like a digital kitchen, with an open floor plan. The AI is the chef at the stove actually cooking the meal, but the kitchen is totally exposed.
Yeah.
So everyone from the intern to the CEO can lean over the counter and just shout out recipe changes while the food is still in the pan.
Okay, I have to push back on that kitchen analogy just a bit.
Oh, go for it.
Well, if the CEO and the marketing manager are literally shouting random recipe changes at a chef who immediately executes them, you are going to end up with a completely burnt, chaotic meal.
Okay, fair point. Too many cooks.
Too many cooks, exactly. And that is exactly the risk of giving non-engineers the power to generate raw code. It is precisely why Slack engineered this with a hard stop.
The human approval gate.
Yes, gating the actual deployment behind human engineering approval. The agents can cook all they want in the channel, but a qualified human still has to taste the dish before it goes out to the customer.
I see what you did there. But yeah, that makes total sense.
And from a strategic perspective, this is just a brilliant maneuver by Slack. Because right now, every major technology lab is fighting a war to build the smartest, most autonomous individual agent.
The best standalone worker.
Exactly. But Slack is largely ignoring that battle. Instead, they are executing a land grab for the venue itself. They know that human teams are already entrenched in their platform.
Oh, I see. They want to be the room where it happens.
Precisely. By allowing you to tag in Claude for logic, Devin for engineering, and Vercel for deployment, Slack is positioning itself as the indispensable central hub. They do not care which AI you use. They just want to own the real estate where you and the AI collaborate.
That is such a smart play. And that concept of an artificial intelligence acting as a tireless observer in a shared space translates perfectly into our next major development. because we are shifting from organizing code dependencies to organizing complex biological data.
This is the University of Northampton study, right?
Yes, so researchers there recently deployed an AI platform called CenSegNet to analyze breast tumor samples. And instead of looking at a scan macroscopically like a human doctor usually would, this system was trained to analyze the tissue cell by cell.
That is an incredible level of granularity.
It really is. It was specifically hunting for structural anomalies in something called a centrosome. And for some context, in a healthy cell, centrosomes act as the mechanical anchors that help the cell divide cleanly and correctly.
They pull the cell apart during division.
Exactly. Yeah. But when those centrosomes become abnormal, they trigger cellular errors that directly drive cancer growth. So the research team fed this open-source AI platform data from 27 patients,
Okay.
and that covered 911 different microscopic samples.
Which is just a massive volume of data for a human to review.
Totally impossible for a human. But by scanning all of that, the system identified two previously unseen patterns. It found centrosomes that were severely oversized, and it found cells that simply had extra centrosomes.
And this is where the findings got really unexpected, didn't they?
Highly counterintuitive, because the AI revealed that when a tumor had an abundance of oversized centrosomes, those patients actually tended to live longer.
Which goes against what you would naturally assume.
Exactly. Conversely, if a tumor featured extra centrosomes, it correlated with a highly aggressive, dangerous form of the disease. So this just makes me question all our assumptions about cellular mutation. Because if a cancer cell has a massive, oversized centrosome, my first instinct is that bigger means worse.
Of course. You assume a bigger mutation makes a more dangerous tumor.
Right. So what is the biological mechanism that makes an oversized mutation actually lead to longer patient survival?
It actually comes down to the mechanics of how a cell splits. If you think of cell division as a highly synchronized mechanical process, the centrosome is the engine pulling the two halves of the cell apart.
Okay, I'm visualizing that.
So if that engine becomes massively oversized, it gets incredibly clunky. The physical machinery essentially jams up.
Oh, I get it. It's too big to function properly.
Exactly. Because the cell struggles to complete the division process, the cancer's ability to multiply and spread is drastically slowed down.
Wow. So it's basically tripping over its own feet.
That's a great way to put it. And that slowdown directly translates to a longer survival window for the patient.
Okay, so then what about the extra centrosomes? Why is that so much worse?
Well, on the flip side, if a cell has extra centrosomes, say 3 or 4 instead of the normal 2, they act like multiple engines pulling the cell in conflicting directions simultaneously.
Oh, man. That sounds chaotic.
It is. That causes chaotic, fractured division, which leads to rapid, aggressive tumor growth. But I think the true breakthrough here is not just understanding that mechanism, it's the sheer scale of the observation.
Because of how much data the AI can process.
Yes. Human pathologists suffer from visual fatigue. After looking at hundreds of cells, subtle structural differences simply blur together.
It's the needle in the haystack problem.
Exactly. But an AI platform like CenSegNet can tirelessly process thousands of cells without a drop in focus. Spotting those minute physical variations across massive data sets is exactly what will allow doctors to deploy highly targeted, personalized cancer treatments in the future.
It's just staggering to think about the real-world impact of that. Well, shifting from the research lab over to the corporate landscape, we have a massive backlog of industry shifts and milestone updates today. I will hand the floor over to you for the news rundown.
All right, let us break this down by looking at company timelines, data shifts, and media integrations. So starting with the timelines, we are seeing a stark contrast in how the major players are pacing themselves right now.
The different strategies are really starting to show.
They definitely are. Anthropic is aggressively moving to educate the enterprise market. They just launched the Claude Academy, which acts as a centralized hub featuring 355 distinct tutorials.
355, that's comprehensive.
It's massive. It covers prompting techniques and highly specific use cases across their entire ecosystem. So Claude, coworker, code, tag, and their API. They also introduced a concise mode for Claude Code, which forces the tool to deliver much shorter, more direct responses.
Oh, thank goodness. Stripping out all that conversational filler.
Exactly. No more pleasantries when you just need the code. And financially, they are capitalizing on this momentum. Reports indicate Anthropic plans to file initial public offering paperwork as early as this month.
Wow. So they're moving fast on the financial side, too.
Yeah. Very fast. But OpenAI is charting a completely different course. Their chief financial officer, Sarah Fryer, reportedly informed employees that the lab has no intention of going public until 2027.
2027, that's a long runway.
It is. They appear to be playing a much longer game regarding public market scrutiny.
Which makes sense given all the structural changes they've had lately.
Definitely. Now, on the product integration side, OpenAI did roll out a new Apple Messages plugin this week. This syncs your iMessages directly into their enterprise platforms.
Wait, so into ChatGPT work in Codex?
Yes. Users can now search their text history, view updates, and send replies natively from within the ChatGPT desktop app.
That is incredibly convenient, not having to break your workflow to pick up your phone.
It's a huge time saver. However, the more fascinating OpenAI development involves their underlying data sourcing.
Oh, the Reddit thing. I saw this.
Yes, according to the analytics platform PromptWatch, the frequency of Reddit citations in ChatGPT responses has basically fallen off a cliff. Since mid-July, Reddit citations dropped a staggering 86%.
86%. That is not a glitch. That is a deliberate pivot.
It has to be. To contextualize that, Reddit historically accounted for nearly 4% of all citations, and as of August 14th, that number sits at just 0.5%.
And Reddit has essentially been the foundational bedrock for human-sounding conversational data for these models. Has OpenAI said anything about this?
No. They have remained entirely silent on why this massive drop-off occurred.
Very interesting timing, given the recent API deals.
It is. Finally, looking at enterprise efficiency and media tools, we have a benchmark that redefines return on investment. Asana recently utilized OpenAI's Codex model to strip an outdated testing framework out of their core software.
This is the stat from the intro, right?
Yes. Their original internal estimate to complete this removal manually was a timeline of 5 years and a cost of $6 million. By deploying Codex, they finished the entire project in 2 weeks, spending exactly $12,000.
Okay, I have to stop and unpack that Asana statistic, because the mechanics of how an AI achieves that kind of efficiency are often completely misunderstood by people outside of engineering.
It's hard to visualize how it's even possible.
It is, because taking a 5-year, $6 million project and finishing it in 2 weeks for 12 grand is not just about the AI typing code faster than a human. Removing a core testing framework usually requires human engineers to manually hunt down and untangle thousands of interconnected dependencies across a massive legacy codebase.
Which is incredibly tedious.
Tedious and dangerous is a slow, sequential process that almost always breaks something else in the system. But models like Codex can load the entire repository into their context window.
So they see everything at once.
Exactly. They can map every single dependency simultaneously. It is not like giving a construction crew a slightly faster hammer. It is like having a digital architect instantly trace every single electrical wire in a skyscraper and instantly rerouting them all at the exact same moment before safely tearing out a wall.
That analogy makes it so much clearer why it saves years of work.
It's just a different scale of problem solving. Speaking of media updates, though, didn't Adobe have an announcement?
Yes. To round out the media updates, Adobe officially launched its Firefly audio generation suite to all users. This allows creators to generate original soundtracks, voiceovers, and sound effects that are fundamentally safe for commercial use.
So no copyright headaches.
None. And reacting to a broader industry push for transparency, Apple Music will begin attaching explicit labels to AI-generated songs on its platform later this year.
Okay, so the platforms are finally starting to categorize this stuff. Well, moving from that kind of enterprise-scale leverage down to your personal workflow, let us look at today's trending productivity tools and exactly how you can put them into practice.
I love this section.
That's the fun part. So
Yeah.
first up is Fruitru Studio. And this is a platform for building interactive 3D and XR environments with zero coding required.
Zero coding for XR, that used to take a whole team of developers.
I know. A really practical use case here is for e-commerce. You can feed it flat images of your products, and it handles the spatial mapping to build a virtual walkthrough of a retail store. So it allows customers to browse digital shelves as if they were physically in the room.
That's amazing for small businesses.
Total game changer. Next is AdAnt, which is an AI optimized specifically for generating viral social media advertisements.
We all need help with that.
Right. So if you are launching a new product, you can use this tool to rapidly A/B test 50 entirely different variations of marketing copy and visual hooks in a matter of minutes.
50 variations.
Yeah, in minutes. So it's isolating exactly which psychological trigger converts the best.
That takes the guesswork out of ad spend.
Absolutely. Then we have Wikis. This is a centralized workspace designed for comparing answers from multiple large language models side by side.
Oh, I can see that being incredibly useful for research.
It is. If you are fact-checking a highly complex research report, you can have Claude and ChatGPT summarize the exact same data simultaneously on one screen. This is crucial for spotting synthesis gaps.
Because they often interpret the same data differently?
Exactly. Perhaps one model hallucinates a statistic while the other correctly identifies a nuance in the data. So seeing them side by side catches those errors.
That's a really smart workflow.
We also have the newly launched Slack code, which we talked about earlier, bringing agentic software building directly into your chat channels. The ideal scenario here is a non-technical founder tweaking the layout of a new landing page.
Without having to bother the engineering team.
Exactly. They can give plain English instructions to the AI agent live in the channel, watch the developer review it, and see the preview update instantly without ever needing to open a code repository.
I can see startups adopting that immediately.
Next, for video production, there is FLUX Upscale, and this is powered by BFL. This tool natively regenerates low-resolution video into 4K.
So it's not just stretching the video out.
No, and that's the key. Unlike older tools that just artificially stretch pixels and applied sharpening filters, this model actually intelligently hallucinates the missing details.
Oh, wow. So it's essentially rebuilding the image.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can take a blurry, pixelated promotional video from 10 years ago and resurrect it so it looks exactly like it was shot on modern cinema lenses yesterday.
That is wild.
For back-end cost management, we have Router. This is a new tool built by Ramp. This system automatically matches your incoming AI queries to the most cost-effective model capable of handling the task.
Oh, I see. So you don't overpay for simple tasks.
Right. It uses an internal classifier to evaluate the complexity of a prompt on the fly. You save massive amounts on API costs because it routes simple FAQ questions to a cheap, lightweight model, while only reserving your expensive, premium API calls for complex logic or multi-step reasoning.
That's going to save companies a fortune at scale.
Huge savings. And finally, there is Firefly Audio from Adobe, which you mentioned earlier. This provides a suite of commercially safe sound generation tools. It is the perfect solution for a solo creator who needs custom, high-quality background music for a YouTube channel or a podcast, effectively eliminating the risk of a copyright strike shutting down their monetization.
When you analyze the underlying mechanics of those tools together, they really represent a systematic dismantling of traditional business bottlenecks.
They do. They target the exact pain points that slow things down.
Every single tool targets a historical point of friction. Router solves the financial bottleneck of scaling AI queries. Drishu Studio and Slack Code completely bypass the technical skill barriers that used to lock non-engineers out of the product development cycle.
And Firefly Audio removes the legal bottlenecks.
Yes, it removes the legal and licensing bottlenecks that have always slowed down rapid media distribution.
It's fascinating to see these barriers just evaporating. And that brings us to the end of today's deep dive. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought regarding everything we have unpacked today. From agents writing code in Slack to CenSegNet identifying cancer mutations, we are clearly entering a reality where our primary job function is shifting from executing the work to simply managing the AI that executes the work.
The manager era.
Exactly. But that introduces a completely new bottleneck, which is human trust. Because if an artificial intelligence is diagnosing cellular biology or refactoring millions of lines of code based on patterns that are invisible to the human eye, how long until these systems make discoveries that are so mathematically complex, human experts literally cannot verify the logic?
That's the black box problem at scale.
Right. When the AI becomes smarter than the manager verifying the work, do we blindly trust the output? It is a structural shift in how we validate truth, and it is something you will inevitably have to navigate in your own industry. Be sure to follow and share the podcast if you found today's breakdown valuable. See you in the next episode.
Until next time, thank you for listening.